Hello everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar today. I am Kavya and I head marketing at RapidValue. I am also the moderator for today's session. We will be presenting on boosting business efficiency of financial services by 10x using RPA. Mr. Radhakrishnan, our speaker, heads FinTech practice at RapidValue. RK has over 14 years experience in digital business consulting and specialized in fintech solutions. This is a live session and we will be recording the webinar. We will split the session into two parts. 45 minutes will be the presentation and 15 minutes will be open for any questions you may have. The agenda is as follows. We will start with a brief introduction on RPA, the key RPA trends impacting the financial sector. We will discuss about top use cases where RPA can optimize processes. We will cover a methodology adopted to implement RPA. We'll also talk about the business benefits, followed by a case study on how we have achieved cost reduction for a leading financial services firm using RPA. With this introduction, I will hand over to RK to proceed with the session.
Thanks, Kavya. Hello, everybody. So let me walk you through the evolution of the digitization. So when it all started, we were all interested in more of ERP. So we wanted to integrate the systems. We wanted to have information in a single place, which ERP was helping us. And then the ERP was helping us to automate 10 to 20% of the work. And then came up the e-commerce. E-commerce is more from the B2C perspective. We had about 30 to 40% of the transactions being touchless. And then, we kind of felt that e-commerce is also, not helping much. There is a gap which can still be fulfilled, and self-service came into play. Self-service helped people to, go to the web and then change the information, change the orders, cancel the orders, do a self-servicing of the information, change, for a banking transaction could be like changing their address and things like that. So that was able to help about 70 to 80% of the touchless transaction. We still left with the 30 to 20% of the transaction is still being done with a lot of mission and human efforts. So need is the mother of innovation. So we thought of a lot of innovation happened, and then there was a new technology which is robotic process automation and the artificial intelligence. So robotic process automation and artificial intelligence were able to, cover touchless transaction of up to 80 to 90%, and artificial intelligence went above 90%. So with this story of evolution of digitization, where most of the companies stand right now is, most of the companies have self-service at this point of a time, with the leaving to, desire to excel and have more things in place, which gave birth to robotic process automation. And right now we see a lot of companies investing in robotic process automation. So with that said, let's move on to the next slide. So here, let's try to understand a little bit more on what robotic process automation is and where will it play a major role when it comes to the transactions. So let's categorize the transaction into three different areas. One is a transactional area. The next one is a cognitive, and the third one is the if we look at our typical business, be it banking or insurance or a mortgage industry, so transactional could be like the day-to-day predefined standard things, which doesn't involve much of decision making, which doesn't involve more of cognitive thinking or any of such sorts. It's basically a simple defined work which is repetitive in manner and involves a lot of manual people, a lot of volumes to do that specific task. So it could be like, scripts, macros, workflows, rule engine. So all of these things will be used to do such tasks today. These are the, best areas where RPA can do. So these are the areas. So something like your KYC document verification, to give you an example, right? Or something like your account opening, bank account opening. So things like that, where RPA can play a very good role. The other area where RPA can play a very good role is where you require a little bit of cognitive, largely rule-based. So I know what I have to do. If it is going to be within the range of A and B, I know it's going to work. But it's going to be beyond the range of A and B, it's not going to work. So you know the rules, you know how it exactly works. You define the rules. So that is again the area where the RPA can play a very good role. We will see more of examples, down the presentation, but let me take this time to, give a clarity of what RPA is all about. The third area is a more of intelligent area. The intelligent area will require the machine to take the decisions, to come up with artificial intelligence, and then it replaces the human thinking and comes up with a lot of data and tells you what needs to be done. That's not the best of the area where RPA can play a role. That's where artificial intelligence and machine learning will play the role. So just summarizing what we discussed in this slide, the transactional area and partially the cognitive area, which is mostly rule-based and partly judgmental. These are the areas where RPA will have a significant impact in the business. So here I'm going to explain how the RPA system will work. So when somebody is going to implement an RPA system, how will it work? So let's take an easier example where everybody can restate. Let's take KYC. Okay, know your customer process. How this process usually works is the customer will have to update their information, the personal details, their address, things like that, and then they will have to give a proof. Could be a license, could be a state ID, could be a SSN number. So it's been shared as a proof with the bank or an insurance company. So what happens is this company will take that information. If it is going to be a physical proof or a PDF format, they will have to a physical proof. They need to scan it and then put it in a machine-readable format. A PDF document is so. Couple of companies where we are talking with. What happens here is, so there is a team which collects the physical documents from the customers. So there's about 50 branches of this company, and each branch has 3 people to interact with the customer and get the information. So 3 into 50, about 150 people just to get the documents from the customer. So when they get the document from the customer, they give it to another team. What they will do is they just scan this information. Once they scan the information, there's another team that comes in and then they put that information into a specific folder, which is more like an on-premise server. When that's been put into the folder, there is another verification team which will verify the information that is there in the document, and they will verify it along with the information submitted by the customer. They will see if both information matches or not. If the information is matching, then they will push it to the IT team. So the IT team will take it up and see the information, update the information into their databases. So overall, we are talking about like 450 employees doing this single process. Since the process is all totally defined, it's repetitive in nature, RPA will help, automating the entire process. What will RPA do is, if you look at the presentation in your system, so it goes like this. The physical electronic documents are submitted, and that goes into your enterprise system. Once that goes into the enterprise system, the document and images gets converted into machine-readable format. Once they get converted into a machine-readable format, this information is pushed into the right database servers, so the information is updated there. What the RPA system will also do is take that information that's been converted from the images and then compare it with the information that's been submitted by the customer. The customer would have submitted it through your website or through a mobile application or whatever, or even a physical application form which has been given to the customer. So the RPA can verify both the information and see if the information is matching or not. If the information is matching, the RPA can update the information in the server by itself, and then sends an information to the customer saying that your information has been verified and updated. If the information is not matching, the RPA can again send an email or a text to the customer saying that your information is not matching. Please give me a different proof, or different document to verify. So, in overall, what happens is the time taken before automation is about 3 weeks. After automation, it's take only a few minutes to get the entire process done. So, cost saving will be like up to 80%, which is like 450 people sitting and working on this process can be done by like to start with. At least I'm saying that it can reduce up to 300 people to start with, and then as and when the efficiency and the effectiveness of the RPA system gets better, you can reduce it up to 50 people. So, which is like up to 80% of the cost savings comes from there. Now that we have an understanding of what RPA is and how effective it can be and what are the different tasks that it can do, let's see what are the key RPA trends that's been impacting the financial sector. So, the banks, insurers, pension funds, and other financial services institutions operate in a highly regulated industry and are faced with high demands of auditability, security, data quality, and operational resilience. So the robotic process automation allows modern banks to meet the demands and achieve significant operational efficiency. There are 3 key reasons which are driving the financial institutions towards implementing RPA. One is boost productivity with minimal process change. When it comes to RPA, you don't have to change the process, you don't have to change systems. You can still use your legacy systems, you can still keep the process same, but you just need to implement an RPA that will automate the entire process. So robots can replicate human tasks without affecting the underlying system. As a result, the process in place is unchanged, eliminating data integration and analysis effort. Second point is, brings an easy to calculate ROI. So the cost of an RPA bot will range between $5,000 to $10,000 annually. In some cases, there is one-to-one relationship between the robot and a worker. In others, a single robot replaces 3 to 5 workers. Savings are easy to calculate. So in a typical scenario, a robot can replace 3 to 4 workers. So that's very easy to calculate your ROI. The third point that's driving financial institutions towards RPA is it's a fresh alternative to the big spend of the typical BPM programs. The business process management as a technology strategy too often drives a wedge between the business and the technology management organization. BPM has a legacy of long implementations and fuzzy business cases. It's basically the opposite of the RPA. The head of robotic process at an Irish bank put it in the stark terms. The minute you use the BPM word, it is a 5 years and £5 million. So let's talk about what are all the top areas where RPA can optimize. So when we talk about RPA and we talk about more of transactional data and rule-based repetitive data, the first thing, the most significant impact that will happen in the industry is for the insurers. Insurers will get benefited a lot by implementing RPA, followed by mortgage industry, other financial services companies, and banks. Let's see some of the areas where RPA can automate. So, since that we are doing it for a fintech, I'm segregating the categories into two areas: lead generation and operations. The operation can be different for different industries. For insurance industry, it could be policy servicing and claim servicing. For a banking, it will be different. For a mortgage, it's going to be different. So for a broader understanding, I just kept it as lead generation and operations. But I've given the use cases for every financial industry. So let's go through it one by one. There are two different colors that you see here. One is the green and one is the dark gray. The green ones represent the top areas where you can implement RPA, which means implementing RPA in these areas will give you a significant result for your company. From the lead generation's point of view, it's a loan or a policy eligibility check. So when we talk about the loan check, let's take loan as loan eligibility check, right? So if you want to do a loan eligibility check, the first thing that we get from the customer are lots of documents are involved. It could be your pay stubs, it could be the asset documents, it could be the market relevant documents. So a lot of documents that's been involved in the mortgage industry. So when the customer is sharing those information, there are certain rules that can define this. So specifically to a mortgage industry, we can say that a customer getting an income between X and Y, and the mortgage that he is looking for is going to be an amount A, approve it. If it is not between the X and Y and still looking for the amount A, don't approve it. So there are certain rules that can be defined, and RPA can, you can define those rules within RPA, and the OCR part will scan the documents, take the information from the documents, and then process them into the rules. So the rules will check for those information and then will say whether it can approve a specific mortgage or not. So that level of complication level can be dealt by an RPA. KYC, we spoke about this a couple of times in the example before. Account opening, similarly, somebody wants to open an account will have to submit few documents. Those documents can be, the RPA can OCR those documents, convert them into machine readable format, verify those documents and make sure it meets the relevant criteria, and then an account can be opened. And then from the operations perspective, mortgage processing, similar to the example that we with the loan eligibility check. So mortgage processing, as we see today, there are a lot of complications in the mortgage processing, especially given the industry has a lot of legacy technologies which have been built in-house by a lot of the companies. So when we take today's US market, the mortgage industry, all the companies have been building their own system for their company, and it's all legacy systems. So RPA is the best approach to take in whenever you have a legacy system, that too you have an inbuilt system which is not so scalable friendly. So given a scenario where in the US market especially, there's a lot of communication happening between the mortgage provider, the customer, the agent, the bodies like Freddie and Fannie Mae, we have a big ecosystem there. So you need to have a lot of communication back and forth happens, especially in terms of reviewing the information by Freddie or Fannie coming back to the mortgage provider. The mortgage provider will have to look at the information and then, get back to the customer for more documents. So things what RPA can do is it can have a checklist of all the documents which it can check against the documents provided by the customer. If there are any missing documents, the RPA can get back, trigger an email by itself. It could be an automated email which will be sent to the customer asking for those specific documents. The customer can send those information, and this information can again be shared with the bodies like Freddie or Fannie Mae, or even you can define the rules to check for the relevant applicability or eligibility of the document of the applicants. So all of this can be done using an RPA engine. Policy servicing. Policy servicing is one interesting area where a customer, it's very important for a customer servicing point of view from an insurance company. So there are a lot of changes that comes from a policy servicing point of view. A customer who has applied for insurance will have to there are situations where the customer will have to change the personal details. There are situations where the customer will have to change the address, change the nominee details. So at this point of time, we have a lot of self-service application. Most of the insurance company have a mobile app or a website where the customer can go and update this information. In most of these scenarios, there is a document that is required as a proof. Certain areas where the self-service application itself will have an option to upload the documents, but in most cases that option is not available. The customer will have to mail it to the company or give it in person. So in all these scenarios, RPA can kick in, get the documents, be it electronic version or be it the physical document. This documents can be converted into a machine readable format, and then this is one of the examples which we spoke earlier. This can verify the information provided in your self-service application versus the document that you have provided. So it can compare the address side by side and make sure the address is matching with the address provided by the customer. If the address matches, the address can be updated and approved in the database. So the customer will see the updation of address in a matter of seconds or minutes. That's what it's all going to take, instead of currently we take about 2 to 3 work days to get back to the customer. Claim servicing, another very interesting area, very important area for an insurance company, because when it comes to claims, customer are also very serious about it, and they wanted things to happen as soon as possible. As far as the insurance company goes, claim servicing is one of the differentiators for them. So every company is trying to process claims as soon as possible. So what's happening, how RPA can help here is, especially in property and casualty insurance, there are a lot of documents that needs to be submitted. Could be a stolen document, or could be a police report document, and the property document. All of those documents needs to be submitted. So this is also one key area where you will have something like machine learning helping a lot in terms of automating the process. So RPA can help you in reading those documents, processing those rules, and then we will see a detailed example down the line, but just want to give a quick idea of what is it. So RPA can read the entire document and then verify that with the initial agreement provided to the customer, check whether the customer is eligible for the claims or not, and then go to the extent of processing the claim and making the claims payout. The general areas are like lead reporting, procurement, F&A travels and expense processing, accounts payable, reporting, customer billing, digitization of paper mail, enter data into various servers and systems, automate task assignment. So these are all the different areas where RPA can play a very significant role. So let's see more detailed areas within the top areas that we saw in the previous slide. So what are all the areas that RPA can play a significant role? So when it comes to sales administration, assign leads to agents or your staffs, create sales funnel report, enter data into product offering system. From the operation perspective, policy issuance or your account opening or mortgage. So in these areas, what are the various things that RPA can do is enter data into the systems, do a KYC check, document verification against the provided data, eligibility check based on the rules, issue policy or agreement letters, verify no claims discount. From a policy maintenance or changes to account point of view, what are the things that can be done is change of personal details, change in address. From a claim servicing point of view, first notice of loss can be done, manual claims entry, direct data entry, input data into various systems, claims payout, accounting and payment. Mortgage processing, this area RPA can help in information validation, document validation and data verification, document checklist verification, email follow-ups and documents. From a business services or the support point of view, the RPA can digitize the paper mails and automate assignment or processing of the emails. Procurement, verify and approve suppliers' invoices, purchase orders and payments. Verify eligibility, entitlement and fraud checks. So now that we have seen what is an RPA, what are the key trends that is impacting the RPA and where are the RPA can be used, let's see what are the benefits that's been achieved by implementing RPA. Let's see, we spoke about the claims management in a brief. I'll walk you through in a detailed way how RPA can be very effective in a claims management scenario, and I'll also give some real life cases where RPA was implemented and the huge success that came across. So I'm sure most of you would have dealt with some or other insurance insurance company for your property or insurance or life insurance in some or other way. So I think most of you can resonate when it comes to insurance industry. So I will talk about specifically about the claims management. In a typical claims management, the process goes like this. The customer will first notify the first notification of loss, say that I have a damage, I need to register, I need to file for a claim, and then he files for a claim, and then what happens in the back end is this claim is being assigned to a claims adjuster. The claims adjuster reads through the claim and then checks if that claim comes under the purview of the initial agreement. If that comes under the purview of initial agreement, then the person assigns it to a field adjuster. The field adjuster goes to that specific location and then verifies the damage and creates a summary, creates a report. Summarizes the entire damage and then submits that to the claims adjuster. The claims adjuster will look at that, verify that, and then process the payout. So this is what happens in a typical claims process. So this is in terms of 100% manual efforts. This costs about $175 per process. So let's think of a scenario where it is semi-automated. Some of the processes is getting automated and some of the processes is still manual. So fully manual, it takes about 10 to 14 days to process the claims. In a semi-automated area, where the bots and humans co-work to process the claims, this is how the scenario looks like. On a Sunday, the customer registers the first notice of loss. Insured doesn't have to download an app. He can also use an existing system like a chatbot, could be triggered from a messenger or a Slack or a whatever application you have can be triggered from there, or even your website. So a chatbot can be triggered, or the person can use a self-service application from a mobile app or a web. So whatever channel the person want to use can use that and then file a first notice of loss. So on the same day, what happens is RPA bot reads the policy agreement and checks for terms and condition and eligibility status. If eligible, or it automatically assigns the case to a claims adjuster. Then once it is done, in a matter of minutes, the insurer can get to know the status of what's happening in the back end, because the RPA bot updates the information to all the possible server. So the customer will be able to get the information from whatever channel he would choose to, his preferred channel, he would still get the same information. Then RPA bot automatically schedules an appointment based on insured and field adjuster availability, informs both through mail or a text. Then field adjuster visits the location. This is more of manual thing. Visits the location, check authenticity, take photos, and then fills in the documents, and then submits it to a system. So here again, it's been automated. So RPA bot assess the damage based upon the configured rules and machine learning. This shall be updated in the payments and claim servers. Then claims adjuster takes a look at it, verifies it, approves it, and then the payment is getting processed automatically. So what happens here is 35% of the process is automated, 25% is semi-automated, 40% is still manual. So this can straight away reduce the cost of 20%. But the 20% is just to start with, and based upon how do you increase your technology foray, it can reduce more cost. So we saw a scenario of semi-automated. Let's see a scenario of fully automated. So in a fully automated scenario, on a Sunday, the customer registers the first notice of loss. So what happens is, here we are talking about a combination of machine learning as well as RPA. So what happens here is the customer can take a picture of the damaged property or whatever the scenario is, and once he takes the picture, the machine learning can come in play and then say that your picture is not clear, can you take another picture of that? So I need this angle, I need that angle. In a real time, the machine learning can interact with the system and say what type of picture is required, and it can also verify if the picture is more readable format. So once that is being done, so what happens here is the system also capture details like location, time of the picture taken, device used, phone number, etc., are captured to verify the authenticity of the person. RPA bot records these into necessary systems, so there is always a trail of audit record whenever we have to go back to. Then RPA bot reads the policy agreement and checks for the terms and conditions and eligibility status. If found eligible, automatically it assigns the case to a claims adjuster. Insured can know the status, resolution, timeline, and other details through any convenient channel as RPA bot updates all the necessary servers. So now we have the submitted document. The document has been submitted by the customer itself, and we have a complete audit trail of the information. So submitted documents and images are used by the RPA bot to assess the damage based on the configured rules and machine learning. This shall be updated in payments and claim servers. Then the payment can be automatically processed based upon the information provided by the systems. So this is 100% automation. There will be certain complicated scenarios which cannot be addressed by the RPA or the machine learning. So those scenarios will be referred to a claims adjuster to do that manually. So in here we are straight away reducing a cost of 40 to 60% to start with, and this will get better as the system gets better. More examples. Current KYC and policy servicing process in an insurance company we evaluated. There are 150 staffs to receive files, scan and upload, 50 staffs for the KYC and policy document verification, 300 staffs about updating the KYC and policy servicing information on the servers. So to start off with, we can do with just 30% of the entire efforts. Medical underwriting, very interesting scenario for a life insurance company. So in a medical underwriting system where a person is applying for a life insurance or any health insurance, the person is supposed to take a medical certificate from a hospital. So the medical certificate is submitted to the insurance company. So the insurance company gives a list of medical checklist that needs to be taken from hospital. So the customer goes to the hospital, gets that medical checkup done, and then gets the medical report, submits that medical report to the insurance company. So here the RPA can come in play. What RPA will do is check with the checklist of information that is being provided initially to the customer for a medical checkup. We'll compare that with the medical report submitted by the customer. We'll see if all the requirements has been provided in the medical report. If that is done, then it will take the information from the medical report, see the different parameters, check the different parameters. For example, let's take hypertension. Hypertension level should not be, let's say, more than 120. If it is more than 120, we are considering it as hypertension level 1. If it is more than 140, we are considering it as hypertension level 2. If it is more than 180, it's super hypertension. So we are not going to process at all. So RPA engine, where we have defined all these rules, can actually take the inputs from the medical record and can verify it with the rules. And when it sees the hypertension levels are lesser than the permissible limits, it says that, okay, give insurance for this person. If it is not within the permissible limits, let's say within the hypertension level 2, and it's figured out that the person is undergoing medication and the hypertension levels can come down, the RPA can take a call like, let's postpone the decision. It will tell the customer, now I know that you are going, under medication and your levels have come down from hypertension level, super hypertension level to hypertension 2 level, and it's been reducing over the period of time. So why don't you wait for one more month and then come back to me? So I will process your insurance. The best part here is you are not losing your customer. The customer is still with you, whereas the other companies are going to reject his application. So in this scenario, 100% of manual process has been eliminated. Everything is being automated. So direct cost reduction is like about 30 to 60% on onshore process, 10 to 30% on offshore process. Typically, one robot can replace 3 workers. Indirect cost reduction, faster transaction processing by 60%, standardized process steps, improve regulatory compliance, potential to reduce error rates by 20%. So some of our success stories from the customer. So we work with quite a lot of customers. I would just walk you through one of the customer where we implemented RPA and what is the success that's been for. So we implemented about 26 bots and eliminated about 100% of the wait time. So here we automated the payout and the actuarial process. So what happened is the new margin business before was about T+1, and after the bot it's like on the same day. Embedded value before the bot it was T+1, after the bot it's on the same day. Analysis of movement it's T+3, after the bot it's about T+1.5. So the wait time has been completely eliminated. It's about 70 hours of wait time has been completely eliminated, and there's no wait time at all. It's all happening in the matter of fraction of seconds on the real-time basis. So yes.
Do you have any questions? You can type in the chat window and then we can address them. So RK, there's a question. How many tasks can a bot work simultaneously?
So a bot can work on only one task at a point of time. A bot always work on a sequential basis. So once a task A is done, it goes on to a task B and then task C. If there's a requirement or a scenario where a task needs to work simultaneously, we will have to implement multiple bots for that. So 2 bots, 2 tasks can be done parallelly.
Okay, thank you, RK. Any other question?
Feel free to ask questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Yes, Arvind, are you trying to ask a question? We'll wait for a couple of minutes more. There is one more question, RK. How do we ensure that the documents validated are completely same, or we take some error percentage into account?
Okay, so good question. So to answer this question, so usually with the experience, what we have seen till now is the more important aspect here is the tool that we choose to do the OCR part. It's also highly dependent on the data that comes in. There are some bad data. For example, one of the things that we came across is there is a scan document, but the scan machine was not that great. So when you scan it, you get the output more like your photocopy in a very black format. It was very difficult to read with the normal OCRs. So we had to implement a high-end OCR to make sure the accuracy is up to 95%. So we usually try with few documents to see to arrive at a result of what is the accuracy that we are getting. So once we get to understanding of what is the accuracy level, we know how it is going to work. So accordingly, at least in the beginning stages, we'll have few people to do a review of the documents, and once we have the confidence level, then I think we can do it with, we know what is going to be the accuracy level. The system can also learn by itself. When it doesn't feel the information is accurate, it can push it to the manual employee, and the manual employee can read through the information and answer the question. Sorry, process the information.
There are a couple of questions more. So the first one is, how a guy with no knowledge of RPA should start learning RPA?
So there are different tools in RPA. You can refer to a Gartner report. There are multiple tools like Blue Prism, UiPath. So, depending upon what tool you're interested in, you can probably, go for a training for that specific tool. And the best part of learning RPA is by working on it. So once you learn it theoretically, you should try to implement it somewhere and see how effectively it works. That's the best way of learning.
Other one is how a person working in program management office can use RPA.
So it depends upon what kind of process you have within the program management office. If you can connect with me offline to make me understand what are the different processes and how do you use those processes in the program management office, then we can come up with how RPA can effectively help you, right? So my understanding is program management officers mostly coordinating with your peers and with your with other people in the system, and then getting the information from them. Certain areas where RPA can help is to automate this process. When you have a checklist of information that you need to get it from your employees, so that you can define it on the RPA, and RPA will keep following up with those person until it gets the information. It can trigger automated email to the person, talk to them and try to get the information.
Which tool is good for PMOs?
PMO is not part of RPA, so PMO
means Program Management Office.
So if you're asking which RPA is good for a PMO, that depends on how complicated is your processes and what you need to get done out of it. So as I told you initially, there are a lot of RPA tools like Blue Prism, UiPath. So you will have to go through each of this tool to understand what each of these tools is capable of, and then you will have to match it up with your requirement. That's the best way to analyze which tool you have to go with. If I want to use RPA in MS project or SAP project, yes, you can use RPA with any system. RPA can interact with any of the systems.
Yeah, so question is, if we want us to use RPA in MS project or SAP project system or Clarity PPM, which tool would be good?
So yeah, as I told you, you will have to analyze. So the Blue Prism and UiPath are the good tools available in the market. There's another few tools like Automation Anywhere, a couple of more tools. So yeah, it depends. So each tool can do different activity. Mostly all the tools can mimic the human this thing and can get you the results. But there are some additional capability or additional features that each of the tools has to differentiate itself. So it depends on what is your requirement, and you can analyze the tools and then see which tool is best works for you.
Anybody else? Any more questions? We don't see any more questions. So I think we can wind up the session. So you can always connect with us offline. You can write a mail directly to RK. So that's rk@rapidvaluesolutions.com. We will also be sharing the webinar recording in a couple of days' time. So thank you everybody for joining the session, and we're very glad that all of you could make it. Thanks once again.
Thank you for getting your valuable time to listening to the webinar. I hope this is good for you. Appreciate that. Thank you so much.